Hi guys, Kate Spade, fashion designer, killed herself by hanging at 55 years old. Anthony Bourdain, chef, killed himself by hanging at 61 years old. Add those two ages together, you get 116, or upside down and back to front, 911. Now, I don't know if it's a connection, but it's possible that the hangman here could be referencing possible watch for suicide by hanging around the time that we're looking for missiles, tsunamis, nuclear war, and all the other things that we've been looking for to happen, earthquakes, volcanoes, splitting, all that kind of stuff. So, thinking, I'm not sure if that's a connection, but it's possible, so I'll mention it. And then I was looking up here as well, and I was thinking, this video uses like context and textures and makes things darker and things lighter to convey different kind of messages. And I was looking here and I was noticing that the middle line here, it actually goes out and comes around like that, so it's separate from this part, which is like one solid block. It's darker. I'm not sure if you can tell that on this screen. You might need to look at a higher definition video, but basically it's an F there, and then what looks like it could be a 1, and then a 3. So I was thinking, could that be June 13th? Possible. It has got this little hook here, and that could be to, mislead you into thinking it's an L, but we do have references to the letter L in this video as well, so it could be 12, F12, 3. That would be June the 12th, possibly 3 o'clock. So, gonna keep an eye out. Obviously, I'm keeping an eye out for this high watch week, which is coming up next week from June 12th through to June 21st. But around June 12th, June 13th, 14th and 15th, I'm seeing a lot of indications to a lot of activity taking place around that time. And it's possible that this missile here could either be interpreted as June the 12th at 3 o'clock or June 13th. Either way, they're one day after each other, so the fact that you can interpret it into 2 sequential days is interesting. Down here as well, the bottom of the shark, from the bottom of the jaw going into the tail, you've got the line across, the line down, and the line across. That's a J, June. If you go down like this and then come up, that's 13. The 1 comes down and then the 3 goes up. June 13. So you've got June 12, June 13, an association with a shark, which is commonly agreed to represent a submarine, and then a missile. And that ties in, again, the missile, in this particular frame, it's, directed towards Obama. Obviously, in the previous frame, it's directed towards George Bush. But it is coincidental that in this frame, it is where you can see it possibly being submarine, missile, Obama, which is connected to Hawaii, where Kilauea is going off, the volcano, possible volcano detonation, volcanic eruption by nuclear detonation, earthquake, tsunami. So it all just keeps on tying in. So that's why I keep on making these videos, because the scenarios never change. Submarines, nuclear weapons, EMPs, earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanoes, nuclear war. The scenarios are always there. Oh, assassination as well. The scenarios are always there, but the dates change as our interpretations change. But they always kind of seem to link into a sequential pattern of things. So, in relation to the suicides and then June 12th, June 13th, submarines and missiles, it's interesting that I'm reading reports that China has managed to hack a US Navy contractor and steal some, pretty sensitive data on the US Navy, submarines in particular. Again, on a project called Sea Dragon, 614 gigabytes of information stolen. Things like signals, sensors, and submarine radio data were also believed to be hacked. So the Chinese may have a leg up on the US Navy in terms of their submarines and knowing about their signals, sensors, and radio room data, at least at that point in time. This was stolen back in January, February. It's obviously not that long a time ago, or obviously not that long ago, sorry. Obviously with these highly advanced technologies, it's not that easy to change something if something's been stolen. So again, you've got things being stolen from the US Navy through a contractor, or through like South Korea, when North Korea stole the US war plans for North Korea through South Korea. So you know, again, they've got that kind of advantage in terms of knowing what at that time potentially could have been a scenario that has most likely changed, but you know, how much can you change it? You know, that plan was presented because it was a good plan, I'm guessing. Now you got to change it. You can't change all that much, so it's a lot to watch for, as I keep saying, and I'll keep watching. But just a quick recap before I move on to the last story. Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain both dying by hanging, both of their age adding up to 116, which could be a representation of 9/11. And then the possible connections we're looking at on the chalkboard to June 13th and June 12th. Submarine, missile, possible connection to Obama, although that's just in this frame, so you know, Bush is in the other frame. Have to make that clear as well. Don't ignore anything. And then the Chinese hacking US Navy submarine information. And obviously, one of the theories I put out in a recent video is around June 12th, China doing something distracting to draw the attention of like the US Navy or South Korean Navy, or both, particularly if they do something provocative in the South China Sea, you know, could, you know, easily divert forces there to, you know, show a force or whatever. And at that time, North Korea could slip out with their submarine that they've been working on, but we no longer hear about, along with their successful missile tests from submarines, slbm, conveniently for an empty crater where the lava's flowed away, giving them access to deep underground, which would enable an explosion to fracture the earth, generate a tsunami, yada yada yada. Iran is apparently dressing its militias as the Syrian army, in order to avoid Israeli strikes, which just means that it's going to get messy, really messy, because obviously Israel's going to claim, if they do have to strike in Syria, that they're striking Iranian militias that are dressed as Syrian, but the Syrian army could then claim that they're being attacked directly. Obviously, they have their defense pact with Russia and other countries that surround them, like Iran and Iraq. So that could definitely lead to some pretty messy situation over there. And as we move into this High Watch week, we're on June the 9th at the moment. Next week begins the High Watch. You could say from June 11th, but really June 12th, from when the summit is starting to take place, looks like when things are going to start to possibly ramp up. So you guys, keep your eyes open. Have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and God bless.